Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye has friends. No, really, Jeff has friends. Jeff's friends are on this podcast. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship. Jeff Dye's friendship.
Friendship.
Welcome to Jeff Dye's Friendship Podcast, episode 112. If you don't speak binary robot code, that is episode 112. What's up, you guys? Fuck, what a week. Did I just say that? Fuck, what a week. It has been viruses. It has been racial tension, to say the least. There has been looting and things right outside of my home. A lot of paranoia on my part, a lot of guilt on my part, a lot of ignorance, if I'm honest about things, and I have a lot of learning and a lot of arguing. I've argued and I've defended and I've listened and I've heard and I've learned, and so it's been a lot. It's been a lot this week, and I imagine you guys are kind of feeling the same thing. Maybe you aren't. If you aren't, I would love to move where you live, because it's been quite uncomfortable, to be honest. But I want to let you guys know I love you guys. And if you're keeping up with me on social media and you're annoyed by the posts, I apologize. If you're moved by the posts, thank you. Hopefully things will not be so tumultuous coming up. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I hope. I'm not hoping things disappear and go away so that we can just forget about the important messages that are we're supposed to be acting on. But I am hoping that the anger subsides a little bit. It's been very, 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 very just at a loss for words. It's been very heated, very spicy. But anyways, this week is a very fun episode. I hope you guys are trying to find positive things. Even if just take a break from all the seriousness, because it's important, but take some breaks, watch a fun show, have some laughs, watch some stand-up. I hope to take you out of this seriousness, even just for an hour, with my good friend, NIKKI GLASER. Oh my, what a road we've had, me and NIKKI. I love her to death. I want that to be very, very clear. I love to tease her. I love to text with her. I love to make fun of her. I love to flirt with her. I love to hang out with her. She's the best. She's one of my favorite people. I just absolutely adore her. One of my favorite people in comedy. My only regret is not spending more time with NIKKI GLASER. So that's why this week was so fun. It was so fun to sit down and over Zoom get to do a podcast. She said she was going to do my podcast a long time ago, and it took the world being shut down and us doing it via Zoom for her to actually do it. If you guys are watching on Patreon, I'm sorry that I'm wearing a tank top. If you guys are watching on Patreon, thank you so much. This whole thing has been very stressful to figure out how to edit and figuring out how to use this microphone right now for this episode was so difficult. And figuring out how to do all this stuff. But it's going to get better once we are not in lockdown, or once we don't have curfews, and once we don't have the virus looming on every corner and street lamp and railing. I'll have people in here. I'll have guests in studio again. I'll have my podcast producer helping me make things sound better. This is my attempt in this intro and outro to see if the quality is better than when I sit down in my kitchen for the Zoom. So you might notice a little drop off in quality when the episode starts. But from now on, I'm doing them up here. I learned how to use this microphone. I learned how to use the editing software, not the editing, but the actual software that records it. The sound is a lot better in here. So anyways, you guys, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. If you want to watch this episode, go to patreon.com/JeffDye and subscribe. It's $10 a month, and you get free tickets to all my live stand-up comedy shows and You get to watch the podcast every week before everyone else. Also, announcements on things come to Patreons first. Patrons get free things like albums and baseball cards when those become available, which I'm very excited about. I love you guys so much. I thank you guys so much. And if you're listening for free, I love you too. I'm not mad at you. I get it. Times are tough. Money's tight. But you can at least share the podcast via iTunes or All Things Comedy or wherever you get your podcast. Tell someone about it. Share it. I'm hoping to have a more heavier discussion about race. Hopefully soon. I've just been a little hesitant because I'm a straight white male, and I don't know how many people are gonna be fine with hearing two people not debate, but talk about such a heavy subject. And maybe people are tired of it, so maybe for another day. But today, just enjoy me and my good friend, NIKKI GLASER, while she is in tie-dye, sharing about our lives and connecting. I love her. I love you guys. Enjoy.
I did change my shirt for your show, so this was for you.
Well, my mom has no idea that about race relations. She doesn't know about Black community. She doesn't know Tyrone is a very African-American name. So she spent her whole youth.
Like Tyson.
Yeah, she was like, I've always wanted a baby Tyrone. She thought that long before she married my dad, who's very white. And so she was like, when she found out she was having a boy, she's like, oh, we've got to name him Tyrone. And my dad's like, no. 1, because it's a Black name. 2, because my last name's Dye, and his name will be Tie-Dye.
I love tie-dye. I think that is so cool. A Tyler Dye is a great name. Tyler Dye.
It would have ruined my childhood, but it would have been great later in life, I think.
Wait, what are other great names that can have Dye at the end of them? I'm sure you've thought of them all. Like good,
no, I haven't, actually.
Oh, we can think of some. They're like you, because
Ryder would be good. Ryder.
Ryder. Dude, that is the best. Ride or Die.
And also Ryder's kind of a sexy guy name, you know, like Ryder.
It's the hottest name ever. It's a good name. Oh my God.
You know how to record where it has both of us next to each other? You've done 1,000 of these.
No, man. I have producers handle it. I just show up to these things. Shit.
How does the producer handle it for you? Like if you're alone?
Remotely. She records it.
Oh, nice. Oh, and then she does the whole thing.
Yeah. I mean, but we don't really even use, I don't know. I don't know what she does.
I like when it's like side by side as opposed to just hearing my voice and clicking over to my camera.
Yeah, is that just only in post that they do that?
No idea. Either way, it'll be fine. Thanks for doing my podcast.
Yeah.
I like it because I'm in the driver's seat now, you know?
Have you have at it. Have you done these before on Zoom for your podcast?
12 weeks of my podcast via Zoom. And then
right. So what have you done in the past with the image?
Well, they all like click back and forth. Or anytime I've done a pod swap, they can have it side by side, but I don't know how they did that.
Okay. Well, I don't know what to tell you on this one.
All right. It's no big deal.
If there's anything on my end I can do, I will, but.
We've already started, just so you know. So.
Oh, great. Oh, okay. I'll turn it on.
No, I mean, you do you.
I'm
on. So here's my first question for you. First of all, you look great. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Jeff.
What do you miss more, NIKKI GLASER? New York, Los Angeles, or privacy? Which one do you miss more?
I wasn't living in LA, so I miss New York because it was like my life and like my friends who I saw on a regular basis and my radio show. I miss my old life. Privacy, I'm getting a lot of privacy here when we're living with my parents. They really give me as much as I need. And when it gets to be too much, they have like a river cabin. They have this like old shack out on the river that they go and they bang each other for a couple nights out there. And I mean, I don't know what they do. I hope they have an active sex life. I wish that for my parents.
I wish that for me, but it's just weird to talk about.
It is. Yeah, it's funnier than anything else I could say they do out there, so I think that's why I chose it. But yeah, they just go out there and we like get away from each other. But yeah, I mean, this it can't last like this. I'm gonna have to someday live on my own again, which I'm like scared to do. This is so cozy. It's pretty dope living with your parents.
You don't strike me as someone who likes privacy anyways. I mean, your jokes, although jokes can be lies or they could be jokes. But then your radio show, you share everything.
You go to a therapist, you share everything, even though that's not
Yeah.
public. I imagine you share a lot of what you share with your therapist on your show.
I do. I honestly, right before this, Jeff, I met with this guy who reached out to me. He just saw me on Bill Maher, didn't know anything about me other than that, which that's not like, I'm not someone who's supposed to be on Bill Maher. That's like a weird thing that he saw me on. And he's like, I do this thing called past life regression, where you like dig up your past life and your future lives, which I don't even believe in that stuff. But I also am just open to new experiences and doing weird things. Like I did a hypnotherapy session over Zoom, which was really weird. Breath work, which makes you literally hyperventilate until you just start hallucinating. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You can trip with your breath. So
That's
I was like,
what the Rajneesh used to do. That's what the Rajneesh, they used to get themselves so like worked up that they start doing all these like crazy, they start feeling these crazy things and have like a spiritual experience.
Dude, I really felt like I've only done mushrooms once and I didn't do that many, but the feeling I got was the same I got from this breathwork class where I was just in my sister's old bedroom, just like, and I was like, oh my God, it's happening. Why didn't they tell us that when we were teens, when we were all trying to get fucked up? You know how we would be like, let's drink sugar. And we thought like sugar would get us high. We could have just been breathing heavy and gotten like really high.
You didn't have to bribe older classmen or anything.
Yes. You could have just been huffing in the corner, just like hyperventilating. So I met with this guy today because he offered me a free session. And I was like, this will be an interesting story at the least. Like, I feel like that's how I live sometimes, is just in search of a good story. Because my life can be pretty boring, even as like a comedian, and especially as one in quarantine. So I met with this guy just now, and I thought, I don't know, his name is Daniel when he DM'd me, and he has this whole website, and it's like, at a young age, he had a vision, and that there was no reason he should recall this thing. It was like a deja vu moment where he was like, why do I remember this thing? And it turns out it's from past life. And some horse shit like that.
Yeah, words.
I know. No, I really had a problem with it. So, but I was also like, let's just see what this is. I am open to there being a supernatural world that I don't even know. I think I know everything. I don't know anything. So let's try it. So I said, yeah, I'll do a session. And he's like, it'll be complimentary. I'll always throw him a couple bucks if it actually is worth something. And I would obviously plug it if it turns out to be something. So we booked a session for today. And a couple days ago, I was like, hey, I just need to be done by this time. And he was like, oh, it's actually 4 hours long. I was like, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to do your made up thing for 4 hours. I would entertain it for 50.
4 hours.
But 4 hours to dig it back in my past life. He goes, let's split it up an hour, and then we'll do like 2 hours. We can limit it to 2 hours for the whole session, but an hour like to get to know each other. So I just Zoomed with this guy. I thought he'd be like old and like with a bookshelf, but like an old bookshelf behind him, like professorial, and like he's like like younger than you, and he shouldn't be younger than us. Like your therapist shouldn't be younger than you. And he was just like a guy, and I was like, is this just like a date? Like
Right.
It kind of felt like that.
How many of Bill Maher's other guests did he reach out? I'm guessing something about NIKKI GLASER he wanted to be on.
As soon as he showed up on camera, I was like, and just the way he would be like, no. If you weren't a stand-up comedian, how do you think you would have answered that? Like he kind of do like dreamy eyes. I was just like, I am uncomfortable with this entire thing. Like, and he started asking me about. So prior to this, I had to answer this questionnaire, which is like answering all of your life's questions. So I was supposed to fill it out this morning. It was due an hour before I met with him. And it's questions like, what do you want to know? If you could know everything about your life before and after, what do you want to know? And I really sat there and I was like, I don't want to know anything.
Right.
I don't want to know who I end up with. I don't want to know if I end up with someone. I don't want to know. First of all, he's not going to tell me I'm not going to end up with someone. He'll probably be like, we end up together. This is so weird.
Never happens. It's just like, it's so strange that.
But I don't want to know anything. And so I wrote to him, I go, I got to be honest with you. I don't want to know anything. Like, I don't know what you could tell me that I actually want to know. And he's like, it's more about like, do you want to know why you are the way you are? Do you want to know about things that have happened in past lives that could have, and I'm just like, and by the way, I don't believe in any of this too.
Right.
So you're like, it's hard for me to have interest in something I don't believe in. And he goes, so I just went into this session and it was seriously like a therapy session. Like have you ever been to a therapist?
Yeah, I've been to a therapist. Yeah.
Okay. So like when you sit down on the first day and you have to tell them like your whole story and it's like gnarly, dude. So I'm like crying in this.
There's so many things that you just said that sparked all these thoughts, but like therapists and doctors, right? When you first go in, like it's so dishonesty is a great tool, especially if you're an addict, right? Like, so if like you have an addictive nature,
just point at yourself.
Strong. Yeah, I mean, I have addiction problems for sure. Like, I didn't have sex until I was 21, and then I was like, I'm gonna have sex all the time now. And then I didn't drink alcohol until I was 21, and I drink all the time. So I have a very addictive thing in me. And addicts, like the number one tool they use is dishonesty, because you have access to it and it gets you what you need. It gets you your fix. So that's something I've worked on my life for like the last 15 years.
To be more honest.
Be more, it's very key. Because that's another trust. And if people trust you, then they don't feel betrayed. Anyways.
I totally agree.
So it's so funny to go to a therapist or to go to a doctor and they'll ask you something like, well, do you ever have like unprotected sex? And my instinct is like, no, man, I would never. Like, but I can't lie to the person that has my answers. And so like I'm going to like a therapist like on the first day and I just lied about not everything, but things I was uncomfortable about. And then the second time I went, I was like, hey, I gotta be honest. I lied to you a bunch last time. I was just uncomfortable and I'm used to lying about things that are private. Yeah. I don't know you. You asked me about private things and my instinct was just to be this.
That's really honest. I bet that therapist was like, I'm so proud of you for being honest about like, because ultimately you were honest, but being completely honest is there's a lot at stake if you don't lie. And if you're honest, you can lose a lot.
I need to trust a person before I tell them, well, I can be honest with someone, but if they're going to ask really vulnerable things, I need to trust them. So I'm going to lie until I trust them with vulnerable things.
That's a really good point. Like instead of being like, I'm not going to answer that, because I went on a date on Friday and I swear the guy asked me it was like this therapy session again, where it was like, well, what are your issues with food? And I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. That's really like, why do you think your dad is that way? And why do you think your last relationship didn't work? And it was like, this is first date stuff. I appreciated him just like cutting to the real stuff. Let's have a real conversation. But some of that is earned. And it's not just something you can just, I mean, I don't know. I think people think I'm an open book. Oh, I'll just say anything. And the thing is, I get peer pressured into just being honest and saying too much. And a lot of times I leave these first dates where I've shared everything. Sure. And they've shared everything and they feel like we're so connected. And I'm like, you're just another podcast to me. Like I resent you because you got me to do something I didn't want to do. You kind of emotionally raped me. Yeah. But I chose to do it. I mean, I had a part in it. But I feel at that like icky where I'm like, I just told that guy about my childhood. I don't even know if he has siblings.
You know what's funny is that I've experienced that in a different way that a lot of women will kind of justify. They'll say, hey, listen, just let's just cut through the bullshit. Like I'm of a certain age and I need to know like what you're looking for. And I'm like, whoa, like here's how.
Not that question.
Right. We've learned that seems like an acceptable thing to say. Whereas I disagree. I want to get to know you. I want to have fun. That might be appropriate 3 weeks from now, judging on how fast we're moving. That might be an appropriate question for even like 2 months from now. Maybe we need to have that conversation a year from now. Or if I want to like have sex with you right away, maybe you need to have that question the second we have sex. But it's really unfair on a first dinner to try to demand the outcome. You can't.
I would never do that.
Yeah.
I don't understand women that do that because first of all, you're gonna get a lie. A guy just wants to have sex. Like everyone says they want a real. I hate when the guy asked me that on Friday, and I get why he asked it because he's probably looking to have kids.
I don't think so.
A waste of his.
Why
do they ask it?
Because he thinks you want that, and it's going to make him look like this great guy to ask you a manipulative question that suggests he has the answer to it.
You know what I want on a first? What I'm looking for on a first, in general, is to like someone enough to go the very next step, which is considering you letting you inside me. I don't even have any plans about. I'm open to kids, but I haven't met someone who makes me want to have their kids yet. Like that just hasn't happened. Well, I'm not going to say that's what I want because I don't know.
That's super healthy because I think what happens is a lot of people are like, well, he was great, but we're looking for different things. And it's like, well, how long did you guys hang out? Oh, a couple times. We're like, well, you don't even know each other yet. What are you talking about?
Well, okay, so I have been beating myself up because I know that you don't tend to look for like you're not actively looking for a relationship, which I'm not really either anymore. But I have this weird guilt that like but I am open to it. And it's something I would want for myself. But if I don't get it, I'm not going to be like, my life failed. But when I go on dates sometimes, first of all, I have to make myself go on dates. I get asked out a lot and I'm just like, ugh, like I just know, I feel like I already know, but I've been wrong before and I entertain the idea that I could be wrong. So I go on the date and then they're nice and everything's fine and they're good looking enough. But there's just not that like,
right.
I just don't want to, and I feel so guilty that I don't feel that way. And then I feel like I should do you ever keep going just because you're like, I should feel this way?
Let's just play a hypothetical. Let's say you got a direct message from, name a guy celebrity you think's cute.
God, it's hard. I'm always struggling for this one. Okay, let's go with the Captain America guy.
Yeah, Chris Evans. Okay.
Yes.
Let's say he DMs you and he's like, hey, I just stumbled upon your comedy. I've only been single for a few months, but you're so funny and you're really attractive. Would you like to get drinks with me sometimes? That little feeling that you feel like, oh shit, like, is this really Chris Evans? And like, you start looking through his photos, that little feeling of like, whoa, like this is a big deal, is the same feeling NIKKI GLASER probably got when she was in 9th grade and a boy that she would be into gives her a little bit of attention. You've reached such a level and you're such like an independent, like successful woman that it's going to affect how you view just regular fucking dudes. Like, you know, like, it's changed like what it takes to make that like endorphin or those kind of like things. It's like a next level thing.
Okay, so that's interesting because I love that you're saying this because I also was thinking about this today with men because I do feel like that's what it's going to take. It's going to take like a guy as spectacular as Chris Evans. You know, I don't even know anything about him. I just chose him because he dated Jenny Slate. He dated Jenny Slate, and I'm like, oh, I guess he likes comedians. Maybe he'll be into it. But what about someone like for you? Do you feel that way? Like you really have had like your pick of the like you've had some conquest that I'm sure you're like, whoa, I would have like that's the hottest chick ever or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like that has made you feel like. At some point, do you keep going like I need better and better and better, and then suddenly you're like it's Halle Berry, or I just like kill myself, or do you just start getting bored with too much? Because I feel like we're having too high of expectations.
I think that like my ideologies of life have conflicted with the people that I've dated's ideologies, right? Like so, my belief system screws up the person that I'm with. And then also it's mixed with, in the last couple of years, it's been kind of a problem of mine. It's like, I've made it too much part of my identity. Like, it's cool to be single and you don't have to ever be in fights. And once you say that on stage enough, and once people go, oh, we know Jeff Dye, he brought a different girl in here than he brought in last time. Then this sort of becomes your reputation mixed with your identity, mixed with this manifestation of like some sort that I'm not. Like, if you knew my heart and like, how I am in private, like people would go, I think a lot of people would be surprised who don't know me. Like, wow, like he's really likes weird things and he's into mascots and he watches dating shows and he like the part that conflicts with the ideology that I mentioned at the first part of the question is I will give you zero future talk. I don't respect it. I don't find, and I think a lot of girls need that, and I think a lot of girls depend on that. And it's like, I'm the type of dude who will date you for 3 years, and you'll have no idea a proposal's coming, and I'll propose. I think about right now. That's what I think about, and it's not because.
So how could you ever propose then if you only think about right now? Like,
well,
how could that?
I'm thinking about right now, but I'm not going to give you this like, oh my God, we've got all these plans. Like, I value adventure, and I think a lot of, and this is not to generalize, but a lot of women, especially women I've dated, value security. And that's just part of being feminine, is like security is good. Financial security, emotional security, physical security, and that's okay. Why wouldn't they? What do you want to be with some loser who doesn't give you those things? That's good. But I find excitement in like making out in the rain, or the spontaneity of like sex in public, or getting arrested, or be like, I bet you won't do that. Let's do that. I really value that kind of adventure, which is kind of why my dude friends love me. Cause they're like, dude, this dude just wants to like go to Mexico for the week, like tomorrow. And so that's a very exciting thing. And one of the women that I was like madly in love with, arguably the only person I've ever loved in my life, she had like a 5-year-old son, and she would always say to me like, Jeff, I can't just fucking leave. Like, I need like a babysitter. And like, you need to understand, like, I'm a woman with a fucking 5-year-old who doesn't have much longer to have babies, and you just want to like ride wild animals. And so like, and those we're just at different thoughts.
Yeah. Well, how do you feel about that? Like, are you willing to, because if you are acknowledging that it's something women need, because I also, I have the same kind of thing. Like, I want to be set in my ways and not change for someone else or not give. I don't know what men require that I'm not actually bringing to the table, but there must be a lot, because there's something going on. I mean, but do you feel like you're gonna have to compromise that, or are you just waiting for someone who's just gonna be as like fly by the seat of her pants as you are?
I mean,
that'll be the only way it'll work.
What I hope for and what I'm gonna have to do are two different things, I think.
Yeah.
So right now it's very easy for me to just jump into projects in my career and be selfish and have a dog and live my life and hang out with
it's so good.
available friends or female. And so, but I mean, I imagine eventually I'm gonna have to go, okay, Jeff, well, there's no viable partners if you keep behaving this way. You know what I'm saying? So I think it's something I'll end up having to meet in the middle on some aspect.
Yeah, I think that's what ultimately marriage is like, no one really likes it, but everyone does it. There is something, I've come to understand that there is something good about a partnership and like being in it together, and maybe, and just especially during this like pandemic, like having someone that you hunker down with and who's got you. But it seems really fucking hard, and you gotta not be as selfish. And I'm really selfish.
Yeah, but I think that's okay. I also think it's okay that these people have relationships. But one thing that's tricky is that like all the married people like to lump together like there's some sort of community, but there's some horrible ones. And a lot of people are good at it. I think if you don't have kids, you have no business getting married. What are you doing? You're just being selfish about taxes? The difference is once you have kids, you're now not married for each other. You're married for those kids. And it's very important. And there's heaps and heaps of studies that show like a kid with two parents turns out 1,000 times better. And if you get divorced, you're somewhat selfish.
What about 3?
3 parents? I don't even know how that would work.
I don't know, but in more the merrier. Maybe it makes a better kid.
Michael Jordan must have had like 7 parents.
Yeah, he totally, God, he must have. He had just had the best dad and the best mom. I mean,
do you feel, here's a question for you. Do you feel fulfilled in your career? Or do you feel do you feel like you're still scraping for what's next?
No, I really do feel, aside of like hosting SNL or having
goals,
like I think I've done everything. I've proven that I'm really good at stand-up. That's good. I would like to do some more of it because it's just nice to build that on that. But I've done really everything I want to do, and that doesn't mean I want to quit. But I just know that it's not gonna make me happy ultimately. But I'm also interested in doing other things. But I don't know. With my career though, I'm driven because I don't want to be forgotten, and because I want to stay up with everyone, and I want to stay in the race, and I want to keep making money so that I can survive the next, pandemic and just be able to, there's reasons I like this job. You make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's comforting.
You get a lot you make a lot of money. And
and it's the best people. Like, you get to know, like, comedians are fucking interesting and smart and cool, and so you get to hang with the coolest people. Athletes and like movie stars want to be they like hanging out with comedians. Like, we're cool even though they don't know we're not at all. Like, we're huge dorks.
No, we're
cool.
We're 1,000 times more interesting. In the last,
we are.
What has it been? Fucking 30 minutes. In the last 30 minutes, we're capable of talking about things that would take an actor 8 years to like reflect on and do. Like, I have to go ride a bus to see what it's like to be poor and like get. That's bullshit. Like, that's why
we're pretty fantastic. Okay, yeah, scratch that. So, what about you? Do you feel like what compels you to work? Are you trying to achieve something greater than you've already achieved? What?
I have like an agenda or like a motive of spreading like a message of kindness and like love. Like, that's like the root of like the things I'm trying to do. And I feel like that comedy is the best way I'm going to be able to like achieve that, which is also might be like why, and this sounds so self-indulgent, but like maybe that's another reason why I've been single for so long, is because it's like, maybe I'm here for something different. Maybe I'm, like my purpose is like a little different at this stage of my life right now.
Yeah, like like I might never have kids or get married, but that doesn't mean my life was like wasted. I spent a lot of time doing so many other things.
Well, and also like the reason I asked you that question is for something else, but just what you said is interesting. Is like, yeah, like I didn't have kids, so my like even the fact that you would think that is kind of silly, because you maybe because you really love your parents and they really love you, and it's really nice for you guys to be with each other. But you know, a lot of kids don't really like their parents very much, and a lot of parents are pretty shitty to their kids, and a lot of
I think I'd be good at it.
High percentage, one of the freaking parents abandons the kid, and so like. There's a possibility you could have a kid and you're not very good at it. Or there's a possibility you could have a kid and he doesn't.
That's not very good at being a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I entertain that, and I do know that they could just hate me, but I just think this is the thing, Jeff, it's all about potential. I don't like what I do.
You. They won't hate you.
They could. But
if
I just got a kid with like a weird temperament, you know, I'm fantastic, and I would be a great mom. That's the thing, I'd be a great mom. I would seriously I just know I'd be good. And then I feel like, oh, did I waste that? Like, that would have been a really fulfilling kind of love to feel. And I'm going to die without feeling the love a mother feels for a child. Like, that's pretty sad.
Maybe. I don't know.
But then
then you got to crank them out if that's how you feel, because I've never felt that. I've never thought like, I need to have a kid. I love kids. I wanted to be like a second grade teacher before I got into stand-up. Like, that was like what I thought I wanted to do.
Yeah, you'd be great at that.
I realized like I'm around kids all the time, my nieces and nephews and like my friends' kids, and like it's similar to like being like, oh, I don't have a husband or boyfriend, so I'm so alone. And it's like, no, you're not alone. Go outside. There's tons of people, and you can have tons of relationships and friends and like. But
yeah, I can play with my friends' boyfriends and my sister's boyfriend.
But it's not
like the kids thing. Yeah.
You're around kids unless you only have your kids. We're not Amish.
Right. Okay. So I do see what you're saying, but there is something about raising your own kid that obviously brings people a lot of joy and like opens but people don't change that much. I mean, honestly, I feel like people change more after doing LSD than they do having kids. And they act like they change so much after they have kids, but you just see them less.
You see them less. That's quite a change.
And they look tired all the time.
And their bodies have changed, and their motives have changed, and they say really stupid shit like, well, I can't think like that anymore, I got kids, and they talk different. And like, I mean, telling you, like, having a kid might be the most rewarding thing in the world, and might be great if you're 19 and you hate your Pizza Hut job and like you're looking for a little more purpose. But like you know, I'm pretty pessimistic.
Yeah, taping a special feels almost as good as giving birth. Like, I'm guessing it feels very similar. It's like, and anyone who's listening being like, no, it doesn't. Have you taped a special? Like, you won't ever know. We can talk to Ali Wong. We can talk to Christina Pazitsky. We can talk to, I bet they would rank it like kind of the same.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you? Because the difference is like, I don't want to say that actually publicly.
Well, you incubate it for about 9 months. And then you push it out of here, but then it's done. That's the thing. It's like, the kid thing, having to take care of something all the time. That's why dogs are great. They'll die eventually in your lifetime, which is terrible.
Well, but they also, the reason a dog is better than a kid is because no matter how bad the owner, the dog is so sweet, no matter what. Like, the kids might turn 13 and just be like, I hate my mom now, and I'm hanging out with these other kids. You know, like, they just kind of turn on you, or the potential of, like, turning on you.
Yes, they could murder you, and your dog will not. The dogs won't even eat you after you die, and they, like, they're starving to death in your home. The cat will, like, start eating your face as you, like, are starting to cough. That's what they've proven.
This is my chance. Well, yeah. I didn't expect it to take that weird turn right there. The reason I asked you about, do you feel like you're still scraping in your career to do, like, you know, kind of be in the race, like you mentioned, is you said something I thought was really interesting. They were considering you for a show called Blind Date. And when they were still, like, doing it, like, I remember me and you were texting about it because it was like a NBC Universal thing. And And I remember saying to you, like, I feel like after all the things you've done, you just done Dancing with the Stars, and you had your own show once on with Sarah, and then just all the things you've accumulated and done in your career. I said mistakenly, I go, I think it'd be a step backwards. And you're like, I don't think of things like that. Like, I don't think of it as stepping forward or backwards. I just want to do the things I want to do, is what you said. And I remember it like made me like reflect. I was like, wow, it's really wise, because I'm the same. Like when they asked me to like throw out a first pitch for a baseball game, I'm not a fucking baseball player, and nobody cares to see me throw one out. But I want to do what I want to do, and I really, it made me respect you even more. But that being said, I know you just mentioned hosting SNL, but like, is there anything that's like the goal, like where you're like, here's something I want to do. I know it's whatever, but this is what I want to do.
I just want to be respected by my peers at the top level. So I think, it seems ridiculous to even say this truly, and I don't think I'll ever achieve it, and I don't think it's possible to. And I just talked to my past life guy about this.
Oh God.
But I mean, ultimately, like winning the Mark Twain Award for humor. I think that's like the highest achievement in comedy. That would be.
Why would that be out of reach?
Because I'm not Chappelle. Like, I'm just not. Like, I don't think it's gonna. I mean, if I worked so hard and never did anything except work, I could probably achieve it because I'm capable of being that good. But it's gonna take me. I'm gonna have to work harder. Like, I think we could all reach. Like I was just saying this to this guy. I feel like
I have to give you these little sentences of clarity every time.
Okay, yeah, please inject. Why?
You're not Dave Chappelle. You're right. You're not. You're not him right now. You're fucking young, and you're like crushing it. Stand-up comedy, my favorite thing about stand-up comedy is that we don't have to like decide what we're gonna do at age 34 because we're too old for the business like pro athletes. Like, right. As a pro athlete, if you haven't won like a championship by age 38, forget about it. And even if you do, you weren't the star. You just rode the bench and you got a free ring from whatever young stud is in the league. Not us. Not us. So like, like Don Rickles died like while he was getting ready for a show. Like, I mean, he was like ready to go back out there. So I would say, like, if I was talking to you this age and you were like, I just really want an Olympic gold medal, I'd tell you to, it's probably not going to happen. But anything stand up. Like,
I guess that's a good point. I do tend to think I'm like, oh, I'm turning 36 in a couple days. I'm like, if it hasn't really gotten that close yet, if I haven't been on SNL, like the things that I would like at this age, if they haven't happened yet, like they're just never going to happen. Just as a woman, I hate to bring it to that, but I just feel like your value gets less and less as you age, even more so than men who also suffer as they age, obviously, in this business. It just feels like, oh, okay, I'm on the back end of my career. I've achieved all that I'm going to. And honestly, all these feelings are also wrapped up with this pandemic of like, I don't even remember what it's like to kill on stage. I don't remember what it's like to have a big full life in Hollywood or New York. Like, it just seems so far off.
Yeah, it's been 2 months, love.
Yeah, I know. I really quickly adapt, and I'm like, this is who I am now. I'm going to go back to school and become a therapist. That's what I was thinking.
It's not a panic-demic. You're fucking still Nikki. You're crushing it. Just stop.
I've stayed good. The thing is, I have not stopped this whole damn time. I don't let myself take any time off, and so I've stayed sharp, and I'm adapting. Like, for me, stand-up, like, I love stand-up, but I think I could be okay not doing it. Like, I like doing radio every day. As long as I'm performing in some way every day, I don't know that I think that when it's around, though, again, I'll get back out there immediately because, there's nothing like it. And I think it's just nice that during this time, no one can do stand-up, and that feels like, okay, good. I don't feel bad taking time off. If this was just time off without anyone else taking it off, I would go crazy.
Broke your spine and you had to be like a little bit. Everyone else is like just climbing, and
that's the thing. We know this. You're as good as like how many sets you are doing at the time. You got to stay in shape, and we are all so out of shape right now.
Yeah, well, I will.
Ben Gleave, who's been doing it online.
Just to remind you, I've been doing them too. I've been doing virtual shows, and I was in Utah last week, so I cheated.
And you were where?
I went to Utah last week.
Oh yeah. You got to tell me about that.
It was awesome.
At Wise Guys?
Yeah.
Nice.
Fantastic. What I was gonna say though,
did you make half the money because they only can fill half the room?
like
Yeah.
1/3 the money. But I wasn't doing it for the money. I was like, this is kind of like, I'm going to feel this out. I'm going to see what it's like. I'm going to see.
Yeah.
So it was more of an experiment. And it was great because it was only 2 days. So it was fantastic. But what I was going to say to you too also is like, you're acting like the pandemic has been like, it's like, the whole everything. What am I going to do? It's like, you were 2 weeks into pandemic and you're on Bill Maher from your fucking closet. Like, I think that even the pandemic has been pretty sweet for you.
It really has. It's been very fruitful. I've been on like more TV shows during the pandemic because I don't think any other like actresses are willing to do their own hair and makeup and like wardrobe.
That's what it is.
I think there's something to that of like, what will I do? No one's producing me. Like, thank God I have enough. I can produce myself and I can be like a really entertaining guest from my dad's home office in St. Louis. So I've adapted well. And it's seriously, stand-up could go away and I would survive. Like, I'm going to figure out, I'm going to write a book. I'm going to, do a reality show. I'll figure out something. Like, I'm glad I'm multi-talented.
I wouldn't enjoy, like, guys, I need stand-up for sure. But I'd be, financially, I'm set. I'm good on all that. But that's probably,
that's good.
I don't have a wife or kids, that's a big part.
Yeah. Oh my God. I was so glad when I did. Someone had a great tweet about like, feels really nice to not have kids right now. Like, that was a real feeling of like, I have no overhead except my assistant.
Yeah.
That's it.
When also, like, you might be bored, but you're definitely not annoyed. You're definitely not going like, these little blessings that I brag about all the time, they're not like in my hair 24 hours a day.
Yeah. And boy, I feel for parents. Parents did not sign up for this. So I honestly, as much as I want to be like, I do feel bad for them. No one thinks a pandemic. Jeff, there was no way to plan that you would have, like, if people had kids, they did not know that they would have to be with those kids 24 hours. Like, if I had a kid, I would be like, I would only have a kid because I know that I can have nannies so I can go have fun and still live my life and be the best version of myself for my kids. I will not have kids if that's not the case, if I can't afford great childcare. But during the pandemic, even if you're rich, you're not supposed to have weirdos in your house. So you have to be with your kids. There's no one could have predicted that.
Yeah, they're having to raise their kids the way wives have done for fucking.
I know. No, thank you. I'm not doing that shit.
That's another thing that's interesting. It's like you're considering, like, this kind of confirms to me you shouldn't have kids because you believe having kids means, well, I'll still be able to go to Starbucks and be able to do yoga while my nanny takes the kids. That's not what being a mom is.
Yeah, it is. It can be.
Isn't.
No, listen to me, Jeff. If going to Starbucks and getting a break away from the kids for 10 minutes is what I need,
do you go to 10 minutes?
No, here's what if I want a day away from the kids, I think, yes, I know that on the prairie we wouldn't have had that, but when I had dogs, I got rid of my dogs as soon as I became a bad dog mom. And what made me a bad dog mom was that I moved to New York. I had 2 small dogs in a tiny apartment. And I just resented them all the time. They were always staring at me. I always felt bad every time I left. I got them dog walkers constantly to take care of them, to facilitate and to get them enough exercise. I tried to spend as much time with them. But ultimately, when I was with them, I was mad at them because I was like, you make me feel bad that I feel bad that you look sad right now. Like, I would just always feel sad. So I was like, I got to get rid of them. Like, they need a better life so that I don't feel guilty constantly and this guilt that I'm going to make them feel. So if I weren't able to be the type of mom that is like there and present and not in my phone and not thinking about how I want Starbucks because I already got Starbucks, or not thinking about how I want to go to yoga because I already went to yoga, that's going to be the best mom. That is like, I've fulfilled all of my needs. So I'm going to show up for my kids and play and be present.
Nikki, do you think maybe you getting rid of dogs because they looked at you weird is a red flag?
No, I don't, Jeff. It's not because they looked at me weird. I wanted them to have the best life.
Yeah, but you couldn't provide that best life or adjust to give them their best life.
I could have, but it would have been very expensive, and it would have been, they don't care. They're so happy. They're dogs. Like, with my kids, yes.
I did the same thing with my dog.
Yeah.
Which actually is a really interesting story. I was with a girl, and I would travel all the time.
Yeah.
I would travel all the time, and so I was a pretty bad dog owner. It's just me, like, literally every weekend leaving him with my girlfriend at the time and her son. And so I'm always leaving. I decide for the millionth time I don't want to be with her. And I try to take my dog. And her son is really sad because he loves the dog. And he sees the dog more than he sees me, to be honest. So he doesn't understand, like, oh, I'm losing this friend and I'm losing my dog. So I just said, hey, you want to watch him for a little while I leave, to be nice, right? And then me and her are texting back and forth. It's very mature. And I'm like, listen, how do you feel about me giving your son the dog? And she's like, you do that? And I was like, yeah. And she, you know, if it's gonna, to be honest, you're a better dog owner to him than I. And also, like, I don't want him to be sad. It's kind of like a nice consolation prize. And she was like, yeah, that'd be really great. I thank you. I think he deserves that. You know, my son deserves that. And that'd be better for the dog. And we both agreed. Years later, that me even telling that story, she's like, so like, fuck you. I hear how you tell everyone the story like you're some hero for giving my son your dog. When you I was like, wait, that was exactly what happened. I didn't say I was heroic. I said I was a bad dog owner, and that your son. But like, it's completely perverted into like, oh, fuck him. He never saw that dog anyways. He can't. I was like, whoa, I deserve a little credit. Hell, I'll take the dog back. I'm gonna be a fucking bitch about it. I'll take the dog right now.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, how long did you have that dog?
I had him since he was a puppy. So I've had him since like 2010.
And when did you give him to her?
Like 2000, is that right? Like 2 or 3 years ago. So it was like 8 years.
Oh, wow. So you had that dog for a while.
Yeah, it was a big deal to me. I love that dog. Like when I was home, I was the best dog owner in the world. The problem is we're touring comedians.
But you saw the dog like, oh my gosh, it's probably going to get more love and like attention. Yeah. And so, and this boy, it means a lot to him. And, oh God. So you just had her, she listened to one thing and was just probably didn't even listen to your whole story.
No, she heard it. She heard it from other people that.
Okay. That's the problem with these things is when people hear things secondhand and just go off and assume. There's this girl, I was like in my yearbook. I was going through my old yearbooks, just like commenting on people.
That's one
and
of my
just
questions, actually.
What was that?
That's one of my questions.
Yeah. So I was going through and there's this one girl who was just like the most popular girl. And I just zoomed in on her. I was like, that's who I wanted to be more than anyone. And that's all I said. And apparently, like, she called a friend of my sister's being like, I need Nikki Glazer's number right now. And she's probably like in some sort of blackout. And it made me feel so good that she just sounded so manic. She's like, she's talking shit about me. I'm like, I said I wanted to be you. And I went back and I'm like, that's all I said.
Yeah.
How was that a bad thing? People just want attention so goddamn bad. They want to be talked about. They want to think they're being talked about. It excites them. And I'm sure she's going to hear this and she's going to, I give her my number. So someone who give that girl my number, I'd love to talk to her.
Well, which is a funny thing too, is like, that happened this weekend. Someone was like, she was dating some guy. Oh no, I can't share the story because it's a comedy thing. But like what happened, a very small thing happened. And anytime you mention that person's name, then the girl goes, oh, well, you know how he is. He did that one thing with me. Like that's like the only story they have of that person. Yeah. So now it's like this whole, and it's like just so that they can somewhat name drop. That's what's happening.
Yeah, that's totally it. And yeah, it happens all the time. I mean, like,
why is Nikki Glaser talking about me? It's just so she can tell people, like, you know, Nikki Glaser is talking about me. You know?
Yeah, I mean, exactly. That is, well, that's really a nice way to spin it. But it really did come back to bite me. Like, there was this other guy that I went to prom with, and I made some comment about, you know, in the picture in the yearbook, he's just pouring like mustard on a hot dog, and he just looks like just an idiot. And I go, I went to prom with this guy. He brought this same energy to our date, which is just to say that he was bad. He like didn't talk to me the whole time. It was very weird. And then someone wrote me being like, can you please not mention him? And I didn't even say his name. And on behalf of him, they're like, he's been through a lot. I'm like, what is this weird St. Louis drama of like people, and they're all trading it. Like it's my dream has come true. I always wanted to be popular. I always wanted the popular kids to know who I was. And now I truly don't care, but now they're all talking about me. They actually care. And they're like sharing it with each other. And it's what I've always dreamed of, I guess.
She thinks she's so great sitting at her mom's house.
Oh yeah. I'm loving her. Yeah. I mean, things couldn't be worse for me. Like when anyone thinks that I think I'm cool, I'm just like, do you think that I think I'm cool? This isn't cool. This is really pathetic. And the fact that I like it is even sadder. I really want to admit that I don't think I'm like, oh, I'm really roughing it. Oh, poor me. My apartment wasn't ready in New York. I had nowhere to go. I chose this.
Yesterday,
I love mommy and daddy.
Yesterday, I had to clean my own pool. I hate the pandemic.
Yes, exactly. That's the life I'm living. It's really ideal. But do you have any like high school things that do you communicate with anyone from there or?
No, but it is an interesting thing. I've mentioned this on my podcast enough, so this will be a little bit of a repeat for my listeners. But I was very, I don't know, I'm not popular. Our popular group was real small. They were like just the rich kids. The
Right.
majority is what I owned. I was easily the most popular to the masses.
Yes, yes.
That's because I was nice to everyone and I was very, very silly. But I was really, really skinny. I had really like floppy, bad hair. I was poor, so my clothes sucked. I had braces.
Yeah.
And so no girls liked me. And I just owned it. I would just fart on the seats like really loud and the whole class would laugh. Like there's not a single person in school that wouldn't say Jeff Dye was our funniest kid.
Yeah. Okay. So
Like,
you were the class clown for sure.
hands down. Like it was unanimous and like
Whoa.
it was a really big thing, but that's all I really had. I loved being at school because I was kind of like the king of being the.
When was the first time you kissed someone?
Well, what I was gonna say, just let me finish
Oh,
this.
sorry.
That's okay. Is that after school I shot up to like 6'4" and I learned how to cut my hair and I got my braces off and I could buy nice
What
clothes.
grade?
After high school.
Oh, wow, late.
So all the girls are like, "That's Jeff Dye? Like the Jeff Dye?" Like I'm sure they saw me on Masked Singer and they're like, "What? Like that can't be the Jeff Dye we went to school."
Right.
You know. So what happens is when they find out, they come to my shows. And here's the thing: we didn't have any bad blood. That we were like friendly. But the difference is they've misremembered history. They go, "Oh, we all had a crush on you." I was like, "No, you did not." And they're like, "Yeah, no, we did." I was like, "I promise you." And it's almost it gets me a little worked up because I'm like, dude, I had a crush on so many different girls and no
Yes.
takers, like just no takers. So that's my.
I always point to that with you. I remember when we first became friends, I was like, what? Why are you so nice? Like, you're too good looking to like actually be a real person. And you were like, oh, I didn't get good looking until later on. It's like, that's always the case when someone's like really good looking and funny and like interesting and engaging and interested in other people. It's generally like, it took a really long time to get there. So when
That's
did,
me though. If you want to understand who Jeff Dye is, I'm just a 10-year-old ugly boy who's like, want to be friends. Like that's who I am. And that's what comedy is for me. Like, hey, do you like my words? Like, let's hang out. Like, want to get a beer? That's all it is.
Yeah, I'm around 13, I think is where I stopped. That's it. I'm in this tie-dye t-shirt in my dad's office, and I'm still there. But yeah, that's you didn't have sex until you were
21.
Same. And then what about first kiss?
First kiss was 10th grade.
Same. Okay, what was the circumstance?
It was me. She drove me after our limo went away from like homecoming. And she was also like still hanging out with the boy that she was dating, like before me. It was like a whole thing.
And you were fine with it.
Well, I didn't know. I was just like, what? Like, I was just like some young guy. Like, and I'd only kissed my sisters and my mom before her. Those are like the only girls I've ever like lips. I mean, I wasn't making out with them, but I would kiss them and say, "Good night, I love you," to my sisters and my mom. And so I knew the kiss was going to come. I knew it was happening. I was like, it's homecoming. I've got to kiss her. Her friends were even asking me like why I haven't kissed her yet. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just didn't know how it worked. Yeah. And not that I didn't know how kisses work. I didn't know when it would be appropriate to make that move.
Yeah, so, it's still confusing.
I thought to myself, like in movies, there's like a moment where you just know. And so I was like, well, if I'm
the music starts playing
after, exactly. Like after like a date, that seems like an appropriate time to move in for a kiss. So as the good night of our homecoming date, I leaned in and I gave her a kiss, very peckish lip kiss. And I said, I love you. And then I was like, oh no. Because that was in my mind.
Yes.
Like it was just auto.
Oh my God.
I hugged her really quick, like, oh fuck. And I was like, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done?
You just tried to smother her.
Oh, just
go to sleep. You can't tell anyone about this.
I went back.
I love you so much.
And I leaned over like the sink and I remember looking at myself in the mirror and just going, what have you done? I liked her so much. I thought it was just all so exciting to pass notes and to have a girlfriend. And it
was that your girlfriend?
Yeah, she was my girlfriend, but like I dated her
And
for
you said I love you on the first date?
Well, no, I was dating her for 30 days before I kissed her.
Oh. And were you guys like hanging out, or was it the type of going out where you don't hang out at all?
Yeah, we just saw each other at school, and
Right.
we would go to like a movie, but even in a movie you're just kind of sitting next to
I want to go back to that. I want to start going out with boys again where I'm like, Mom, I'm going out with this guy. And that we only see each other at one place where we can't really talk. And we just kind of like nod and wave across the room.
I kind of talked on your show briefly about how this is 2 or 3 times ago, about how like a secret to like really liking someone is maybe not having sex with them so soon. And I'm not saying like wait till you're married or like whatever, but like when that's what you're thinking about, like you don't really enjoy as much. So like just let it happen organically. And I think as young people, we kind of did that. Like I wasn't thinking like, when am I going to bang Jennifer Marshall? I was just thinking like, oh, how can we have fun with each other tomorrow?
Yeah.
If I afford it. Where can I go on a roll of quarters? Like maybe we'll go to the lake and I'll bring Doritos or like whatever the thing is. There was no like, how can I finger her? Like there was none of that. It was very innocent.
That's all I like think about is that I feel like sex is always 2 on the table. It's just in the air immediately. That's why I hate dating, because it's like, are we going to have sex? Are we going to have sex? And I'm like, I don't even know if I want to like see you. I don't even know if I'd want you to touch me. And I feel like there's always just this component of sex. So people always think like I sleep around because I talk about sex a lot, but I really don't. And I actually struggle with it. Like I wish I could be a little bit more casual about sex, but I truly don't want anyone even near me that I'm not. If I want to kiss you, I want to have sex with you. Like, but I don't want to kiss people a lot of times. But once I do that, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to do everything. But I definitely agree that, I mean, the next relationship I get into, I'm going to wait to have sex for sure until it's just like.
Until it feels right.
Until we actually have a conversation where it's like, are we going to do that? Like, let's talk about it, as opposed to like, it just slowly kind of happens. And then you're like, I had sex with this guy.
That's way better anyways.
It is. And I just don't. Feelings change after sex so much. No one can help it. Girls get more attached. Guys freak out a little bit. There's all these.
I dated a girl for years where one of the first nights we met, we were just like all over each other and having sex on a pier, right? And we dated for years where a lot of girls would be like, oh, I would never just have sex with someone on the first time we ever met and hung out, and it wasn't even really a date. He won't respect me. It's like, no, I respect it. Like that just felt right.
In some circumstances it works. Yeah.
But in some situations, like, you know, like you can wait a really long time and it doesn't work out, or you can wait a long time. But I do think that it's smart to wait till it feels right, for sure, instead of just doing it because you feel like you should.
I think so much of the sex I've had in my life is because like, you should, like, he's going to be disappointed in you, even though, I take blame on that. I'm never like, he pressured me, but I really do.
I took it as one chained. Why isn't she fucking me right?
Yes, I feel that. I feel like, oh, he spent money. He spent time. Like, I'm real big on like, he wasted his night with me. Like, I don't like dating because I don't want to waste anyone's time. And essentially, I just don't want to waste my time.
Yeah, but you got to change that perspective.
Yeah, I really do. I have to stop feeling like if I don't like get a guy off that he hasn't had a good time. Like that's not all.
That's a strange way to think about it. Because I mean, think about it like, I guess maybe I'm just more arrogant than you, but I would be like, well, I spent my time too. Her time is not more valuable than mine. We're consensually sharing our time.
Right. I agree. I just have been so.
I'm almost too equal. I feel like when girls are like, well, why didn't you plan something? I like it when a boy plans something. He's like, bitch, why didn't you plan something? We can both do the things.
Yeah, there's so many rules about that though, Jeff. Like all these girls are reading these books where it's like, if the guy doesn't take the lead, you shouldn't even do it. Like I've done this thing where
that fit in with a feminist movement.
I know it's unfortunate because a lot of us are taught that we should just go after what we want. And the feminist movement did teach us that we can have whatever we want, but sometimes that doesn't work. Like there's something about women with men. You know, like I'm a badass bitch who can have whatever I want. I've gone out and gotten the career that I always dreamed of, and I'm very strong and confident. But when it comes to guys, like I don't want to be like, get over here, fella, and like I deserve you. Like I just kind of want to be like, a little bit like more that way. And that's hard for me because men who are attracted to me aren't attracted to that quality in me. They see me on stage and they're like, wow, she's a go-getter. But
That's
then the
what
second,
hurts the dating life, if I could be so candid.
what'd you say?
I said that's probably what hurts your dating life, if I could be so candid.
Yeah.
Is that
Because
yours?
I don't want to lead because I get rejected when I lead and it's
No,
so
it's not that.
scary.
No, not the leading thing. It's that you're very sweet. Or at least that's the way I view you, is like all the things I put you kind of like on this NIKKI pedestal in my brain. But like if I was just watching your specials and we had never like had lunch or like giggled about a subject we like I might think, well, she wants to fuck. She wants to talk about like she's anal. And so like you can't date a fan is what that means. Like you're gonna have to like.
Yeah, I know. I have to date someone who likes. That's why I don't like when guys are like, "I saw your special. I want to take you out." I'm like, "Well, you can't take her out. She doesn't exist. That person." And I don't want people to. I want people, you know, whoever I end up with, I want them to be able to end up. But them being like a fan and being like hungry for my material, it's just like kind of grosses me out. I'd rather be appreciated just as who I am, you know, on the couch.
And I just want some fans. That's what I want. You know, just please, some fans. Here's the question I was going to ask you that you somewhat sort of answered. Have you been staying in your old bedroom?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, so you've been digging around, right? You must be digging around through some stuff.
Well, yeah. I'm digging.
Is there anything that you found that you're taking back to New York with you?
Oh, that's a good question. Let me think what's in there that I might take back with me. I found, well, I have a Dave Matthews Band light switch in there that I was obsessed with Dave Matthews Band. And so I got like the light switch. It's the only remaining thing in my bedroom that's like truly from when I was living here in high school. And I recently got a Taylor Swift light switch. So I'm going to always have a light switch. I'm going to have like decorative light switches in my life. I want like look at all of your interests around you. It's so fun to have posters of things you love. Like I just bought a ton of Taylor Swift shirts on eBay. I just bought a Michael Jordan shirt. I just watched the Last Dance. So I'm like obsessed and I got like a vintage. I just want to wear things that like make me happy and feel young and alive. And like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess that reminded me because when we were kids, we have posters up, and then we stopped doing it.
My house is riddled with my interests. Like if you walk through my house, you'd be like, "We get it. You're from Seattle. You like Pearl Jam. You like The Big Lebowski.
I think that's so good.
Yeah.
Why not? I was just thinking. I watched the movie As Good as It Gets the other night. I go, that movie has had a big impact on my life. I love it. I should get that movie poster. And it's like, you can't do that as an adult, but why can't you? So the next place I get, I'm moving out of my apartment in New York. And the next place I get, I really am going to lean into it being like, you know, all of my interests around me. Things that, you know, instead of trying to look cool.
New York doesn't have enough wall space. I have a whole house. I got, like, my walls are just, I wish I could give you a little tour in here. But anyways, what was I thinking about that? So you said that have I told you my Dave Matthews story?
No.
Stop me if I've told you, or maybe
because is it real? Okay, no, I'll stop you if you told me, but I haven't heard this.
Or you can just tell me because I think my listeners will find this interesting too. So I'm from Seattle. He's from Seattle. So he you know, everyone's kind of got like a Dave story, like when they met him, when they saw him.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really boring. Like he came to IKEA and he waved. You know, it's like whatever. I was at a Starbucks. And Dave Matthews was in line getting a Starbucks with these two adorable like little girls, right? And he gets his Starbucks. He's being sweet to everyone who's like coming up to him and saying hi. This is 2005. And then I sit down. I didn't say hi to him just because, you know, at that time in my life, I wasn't really a big Dave Matthews fan. So like I was just kind of like witnessing him be admired. So I'm on my computer, I'm writing jokes, doing whatever. And then I watch Dave and these two cute little girls walk across the street. And they're young. They're like probably 4 or 5 years old. He walks across the street and he sits in this tiny little kid's chair and he paints pottery with the two little girls. And every girl in the Starbucks was just like melting. Like he's exactly what we hoped he was. You know, it's like this. Like,
yes.
So I witnessed Dave Matthews for probably an hour, just like creepily watching him. And everything he did was exactly what you hoped like a sweetheart dude would do.
So his pottery painting went on for 15 minutes too long per pot. I'm just trying to make a Dave Matthews jam band joke.
Him and like he has him in his lap and like he's not on his phone or anything. They just keep talking to him and he's laughing and he was like playing with her hair a little bit while she's like paint. It was like the sweetest, like everything he did was so sweet. He just seemed like the happiest, most like at peace guy.
Yeah, I think that is Dave Matthews when he got married and then he started having kids. That was like truly a devastating moment in my life. I really thought that I was going to end up with him. And there's a tiny part of me that's like, accidents happen. Like, I don't want his family to break apart, but like, maybe I have a chance someday. 18 years apart between us. And the older I get, the more it's acceptable it gets.
You want to talk about hate then? If you if you started dating,
take it.
I mean, like, come on, the trolls would be out for blood.
I wouldn't care because I'd be Dave Matthews' wife and I would just relax on our estate and paint pottery with my stepchildren.
This is a weird question for you, but I think that I feel like if anyone could articulate it, it would be NIKKI GLASER. When I was young, right, I was obsessed with Ken Griffey Jr. There was just nothing bigger to me than Ken Griffey Jr.
Yes.
And I knew deep in my heart that I would never be good enough to be a Major League Baseball player. And there was such an age gap that we'd never be on the same team, even if I was to grow up. So there was all these thoughts, but my fandom was so high.
So is that probably the biggest fan you've ever been a fan of?
Well, easily, because
really,
I mean, maybe when I was a little boy, it was like Hulk Hogan because he seemed like larger than life, and I was like,
right.
But Griffey was like,
how old were you?
Like teenage, like
yeah.
8 to like 15.
Yeah,
but
that's
like,
some obsessive time.
Joke like in Seattle, it goes like Griffey, then God, then your dad. Like there's nobody bigger than Griffey.
Yeah, that's amazing.
To this day, I carry his baseball card in my wallet. Like it's a big deal.
Have you met him yet?
Yeah, well, and the other gag I say is that if I was never born, Ken Griffey Jr. could have written his name 50 less times. Because anytime somebody meets him that grew up with me, they're like, dude, Jeff Dye was the biggest. Do you mind signing? And Griffey's well aware of me. Very annoyed. Like, I know about him. He's a comedian in Seattle. He's a big fan. I've met him. So he's tired of hearing about me.
You got to put all of his autographs you've received in one frame. That would be incredible.
Once I get him, I give them away.
Okay.
A lot of kids back home and people that I know. So the reason I'm asking this is because there was this kind of I don't know how to articulate it, but there was this feeling in my like heart of like, I'm never going to like be friends with him necessarily. I don't know what my end goal is. At least with my career, I know where a goal is. I can like figure that out. At least with you can make a goal. Do you feel that with Taylor Swift? Where you're like, I don't really know. Like, it's not like you know what I'm saying? Like, where do I put this fandom?
Yes, that is such a real. Okay, so yes. First of all, the Dave Matthews thing, like, my goal was really to marry him someday. Like, me and all my friends were obsessed with him. I a little bit more so than them, where they would go along with it. But my identity in high school was like, I love Dave Matthews. And I remember telling my friends, I'm going to meet him someday. Like, that's without question. And I remember in high school, my friend Laura, I'll never forget how disgusted she was with me. She was like, you think you're going to meet him someday? And I'm like, I'm going to meet him. And I was even like, not at a meet and greet. Like, I'm going to earn meeting him as like my own person. And she was just like, you never will ever. And I was like, it was almost like fueled me so hard. So when I finally did meet him, I was like, listen, Dave, my high school friend said I'd never meet you. And I seriously think I got involved in comedy because it was the only way to become a celebrity and like be in your sphere. I used the word sphere. It was very embarrassing, but that's to me with Dave Matthews, still I hold out the chance that I could marry him. Like,
because he's a heterosexual man and you're a heterosexual woman. There is a small possibility
divorce is common.
Stuff could happen. And then he's looking, like, yeah, I get that. But but
with Taylor Swift, same thing. I could marry her. No, with her, it's more about, I don't want that. I don't want to be friends with her. I really don't. And people always go, yeah, right. You did that to be friends with her. I couldn't handle it. I wouldn't be able to be relaxed around her. I don't know that I would ever be able to be myself. I'd just be trying to get her to like me constantly. I wouldn't be able to, I value her art so much that I don't want to see any side of her that might go, and everyone has a side that you go, I'd like to like leave her up on the pedestal. but my end goal with her would be just that she's a fan of mine and that we can collaborate artistically in some way.
What if you guys had your own show together?
I mean, okay.
So you
I'll
just
do
showed up and did like a radio show, like the same show you're doing now, but it's like you and her, and then whoever the fucking guest you want is.
Yeah, she would never do that. Like, she's so, like, I think the best bet I have is maybe having like a sketch show someday, or like being like the host of the Tonight Show, and then I'll be able to like do a thing with her. Or if I'm hosting SNL and she's the musical artist, like that's to me is like how I project it happening. But I didn't know I could be a fan of someone as much as I am or was of Dave Matthews back in the day until Taylor Swift came along. I really like.
I think it's annoying because that's what I think of you when I think of her, and I'm like, what? No, like
I forgot that you existed. Remember when we sang that song? I was shocked that you knew that song.
That's a great song.
So exciting to me. Yeah, I love sharing her with anyone. No one likes her as much as me, and so I was really glad you knew one of the B tracks from Lover.
No, I love Taylor Swift. I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. I projected myself as dating Taylor Swift. See how that helps me?
Oh my gosh. Listen, we could do this together.
We've got to infiltrate the Taylor Swift.
I mean, like, is there a part of you that like given it like that might happen? Like if you had a chance, do you have like oh my God, I think it could too.
You want to know how egomaniacal my brain sometimes can be? And that's probably why I'm successful, and I might edit this out. But like in my brain, I think that like all I got to do is meet the woman, and she has to be single and at the right part of her life, and I could make it happen.
That's what I think the same way too.
Yeah. Well, if she's single, all we have to do is meet, because I know that I can have good conversations. I know that I'm fun. I know that I'm independent. I know that I'm success. So it's kind of like, I know that's awful, and I might, like I said, edit this out. But like in my mind, it's like, that's all it takes. Meeting someone. Yeah. I could click with someone.
But the timing, the timing is a big thing to ask for. I mean, that's a lot is hinging on the timing of like them being single. Like the fact that anyone ever has a boyfriend or a girlfriend is fucking a statistical phenomenon.
Think about this. Sorry.
Yeah.
Think about meeting Taylor Swift, right? And the timing's not right because she's dating some weird DJ or some shit.
Sure.
And like you just have a good time with her, and it's platonic and it's sweet, and you don't cross any boundaries, and everything's good. That sits in the back of her mind, like, oh, I met a comedian once. He was really great, blah, blah, blah. And then once the breakup happens then that's when that comes back. Like, wait, I wonder what, that's how people's brains work. So you've kind of planted that seed. So in my mind,
that's what I call it.
All you've got to do is meet that person and be yourself. That's all that's all.
Dude, oh my God. I always call it planting that seed, because I used to talk about it on my radio show. I used to talk about like when you meet married guys, I'm sorry, you should maybe take this out, but I don't actually care. I don't turn it off. I'm not going to overtly flirt with a married guy, but I'm going to be myself. And I know that marriages end. And especially if he doesn't have kids, I'm just like, I leave it open. I'm gonna make my butt look good when I turn around. I'm sorry. I'm gonna clench my butt cheeks a little bit to make it look better when I turn around in front of your husband. I'm not trying to get him to jerk off to me later. It's not even that. I'm just planting a little seed when your alcoholism gets a little too much for him to handle. When he leaves you, he'll remember me. He'll remember those tight cheeks.
That's nature, though. What you just said is it's perfectly great because it's perfectly honest, and it's perfectly natural, and it's perfectly normal. Everything you just said is so true. Because guess what? We act like marriage is as it was 100 years ago, where like people just divorce is on the run.
Yeah, I used to say I looked for a guy's ring on his finger, and if he had a ring, first of all, if he has a wedding ring, I'm like, and if he has a ring anywhere else, I'm like, disgusting. Like, but a ring on a wedding finger, I'm like, ooh, he's capable of it.
You meet a cute guy that you're whatever. Are you supposed to just be more dull now that he has hey, can you be more dull around my husband?
I have a friend who's I bet you do this too, because you're very attractive, and men can be threatened by you around their girlfriends. I just know it's true. You don't even have to say it, because I have a friend, like one of my model friends. She just knows that women don't ever like her if there's a guy around, and a guy that they like or that they're dating. And so she is doing this. She like farts a lot and is always like sniffing her armpits. And I'm like, or she'll be like, she had a bald spot for a while. She's like a hot girl with like she had a stress bald spot. And so when a girl would be around her, like comics are obviously very threatened, especially by like models. So I have this friend that I would bring around to the comedy clubs who's like the coolest girl ever because she's actually come from like a lot of trauma. So she's hot, but she's
The rescue.
Yes. And this one comic was just like judging her, just like, why is this model with us? And my friend sensed it. So at one point in the conversation, she was like, guys, look at my bald spot. And she just pulled this bald spot out. And then suddenly this comic who was such a bitch before is like, liked her. And later on this girl left and she goes, did you tell I had to bring out the bald spot so she would accept me? And I was like, yeah, that sucked.
That's life.
But she does. That's what she has to do constantly is turn it off and be disgusting around men because she doesn't want women to be like, you're trying to fuck my husband. It's like,
Right.
no, I'm not. I'm just know that he might leave you someday or you might leave him or
Well,
you might die.
We always say, like, I'll be like, hey, who's your friend Violet? And they're like, oh, she has a boyfriend. I was like, well, that's just a yield sign. That's not a stop sign, baby.
And sometimes I run stop signs too.
I was like, well, right
No
there.
one's coming. Yeah, that's it. There should be no deterrent. This is what I will say. When I am in a relationship, and I've always said this, and I really do mean it. If my boyfriend wants to like hook up with someone else or like someone else, I'm not doing my job as a girlfriend. That would be, I don't expect anyone to turn that off. So I would like women to pursue my boyfriend and try to get them to leave me. Try, because that makes me try harder because I should. And so, and it like turns me on that someone would want to fuck my boyfriend.
But it's also nice feeling to know that they want to be there, not like I have to be here.
Yes, that whole thing of like, I can't do this because my wife, like that makes me, it's almost been detrimental to my relationships because I really don't want to ever come off like a nag or ever bother a guy with any kind of girlfriendy requirements. And so I've let guys get away with like murder before. And there's some happy medium.
Not like actual murder. I mean, that would be report this legally. You're everywhere. You're on all these different things. I know you got to go. Where do you want people to come find your shit once they hear this?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have a podcast out every day that I do Monday through Friday on from my parents' house. My radio show is no longer on, so I was like, I just like doing something every day, and I'm not doing stand-up. So I was like, let's do my podcast every day. It used to be once a week. So it's Monday through Friday, and it's called You Up, and you can find it wherever podcasts are. It's on Comedy Central podcasts, and yeah, you can look at that and listen to that, and it's a lot of this. And Instagram, NIKKI GLASER with an S.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. And this doesn't count. You're not off the hook. Once this shit's over, if you come to LA, like I want you to come be on the podcast, not just I don't think these Zoom ones count.
Okay. Well, that's not fair, Jeff.
Doesn't count. That's what I told everyone that. Because it's not the same.
You didn't tell me that before. I wouldn't have done it.
I waited to the end.
No, I would love to. I would love to do it in person. It's always fun hanging out with you. We only hang out on air, really, but we do a good job of it.
Well, but we don't have to. We don't have to. That doesn't have to be like that.
We'll hang out off air. I got to see your place. It does look amazing.
Your schedule is much busier than mine. Even during the pandemic, you have a hard out. So like it's.
I know. I told you I had a Zoom hard out.
Little cookie to pin down.
I know. Because I book too many of these things. Are you overwhelmed with doing people's podcasts and stuff like that? Like.
I mean, I've barely done any because I just say no or I say I'm busy.
I'm so bad at saying
I have
no.
softball in 30 minutes. Like, that's what I have today. I'm going to go get some sunshine and play it. The dog will run around. It's going to be great.
You have a perfect life.
I'm very happy.
I'm glad for you.
Thanks for being on this. You're the best. I love you.
Love you. Bye, Jeff.
Bye.
But that, what an episode. Guys, thank you so much. This weekend, I am in... where am I? Oh, San Antonio. Come down to San Antonio. If you're anywhere near the area, that we have shows the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and the 7th. Come to LOL Comedy Club. Get your seats. If you are a Patreon subscriber, message me, and I will leave you free tickets at the door for a show of your choice. Yeah, that's what Patreon subscribers get. Free live tickets, and they get to watch this first. They can just watch it, but they get to hear it and watch it first. You get what I'm saying. I love you guys. See you next week. Stay positive, stay up, and stay hungry? I don't know. I need another stay. I love you guys. Talk to you later. Peace.
Friendship